Do you guys want to hear about Batman? Basically vigilante crime fighter, but in the body of a black African man, okay? No cape, questionable jazz, tragic backstory like any good protagonist, but he's got it all. Is it Odeshi? Is it teleportation? Straight out of Harry Potter. Apparate! Now disapparate! This is my Harry wand. Wingardium Leviosa and Vada Kedavra. Hey, we're here to talk suspicion. Oops, so let's do it. I think I'm going to hold on to my wand. This is my Harry wand. All right, that was fun. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Pearl, and here we review African cinema. Today we're reviewing Suspicion, a fantasy thriller streaming on Prime Video. This movie is written by Tosin, Igho, and Kolade, Igho, and directed by none other than Tosin, Igho himself. Now for the synopsis. A young man delves into the sinister world of black magic after the brutal murder of his best friend and his daughter. As he hunts for vengeance, he faces moral dilemmas and betrayals that threaten to shatter his closest relationships. In this gripping tale of friendship, love, and revenge, he must confront his newfound powers and decide how far he's willing to go to deliver justice. So that's the official synopsis, but you know what, I'm going to attempt a walkthrough, so let's go. Now we're introduced to Voke, that's played by Stan Nze, and his best friend Rogba, played by Uzor Arukwe, and his girlfriend Chisom, played by Omowunmi Dada, also his goddaughter Lolu. I don't know the actress's name, I'm sorry. So we find out very quickly, you know, that along with his parents, Voke possesses supernatural powers. Now, actually, almost everyone does, and at some point it looks like we're moving through the matrix with all these supernatural beings coexisting, but they're very much visible to everyone else, right? Voke's goddaughter, Lolu, she's kidnapped and subsequently murdered. In the midst of all the attacks that he faces, spiritual and physical, he also loses his friend, Rogba. As you imagine, his mission now is revenge / vengeance / justice, right? Well, what do you know? We're transported to 4 years in the future, where unaccountably, Voke has somehow achieved mastery of his powers and is now some kind of ghost-busting crime fighter. I'm not too certain. He uses his powers to solve workplace problems and shenanigans. Sorry. Okay, you understand why I'm laughing in a minute. In the course of one of his gigs, he runs afoul of a masked figure who is killing people seemingly willy-nilly. Now, spoiler alert, this movie is on Prime. Go watch it if you haven't, because the very next words out of my mouth are a spoiler on who the masked figure is. Go. All clear? Good. Voke discovers that the figure, this masked figure who is killing people everywhere and almost kills he himself, is his friend Rogba, you know, who was presumed dead, like we said a minute ago, 4 years ago, yeah. So in his quest to figure out how and why Rogba is still alive and just try to kill him, he discovers a plot that brings him full circle to the very beginning with the death of his goddaughter, Lolu. So he discovers, you know, a betrayal and then assigns himself one more mission. That's to save what is left of Lolu. And if you watch the movie, you know what I mean by what is left of her. And he must make a terrible and heartbreaking choice. The choice, by the way, involves his girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, married to someone else, Chisom. It's a lot. All right, I have a few general remarks. So what did I think of this film? Now, this movie, I'm just going to describe it as here for a good time, not a long time, okay? This movie is definitely a good time. Whew. Not necessarily because of the great storytelling or elite filmmaking, but because it's fun. This movie is really fun when it's not taking itself too seriously, and also because nearly every scene is surprising with its many twists and turns. You never quite know what's going to happen next in this movie. I really like that. And so with all of that said, guys, welcome to this review. We're going to have a good time, not a long time. Guys, if you're a first or second time caller, please consider subscribing. If you're a returning visitor, we already have a relationship, so please, let's make it official. Don't make me your friends with benefits, okay? All right, hit that subscribe button, and also please don't forget to like this video. do it now. Let's talk Suspicion, guys, beginning with the performances. I will focus on only the leads. This movie has a huge cast, but I'd like to keep this video as short as possible. So let's start with Stan Nze, playing Voke. As I've said, he's the lead. I would just call his performance passable. I struggle, with whether to lay the blame for my lack of connection with the character, with the script, or with the acting. And for that, I usually co-blame the director when I lay the blame on the acting. With this, I think it's a combination of things. I'll come to the character later, but as far as the performance by Stan does honestly just okay. I would have liked to see a bit more emoting from him, especially considering the gravity of events that unfold around him. So that's all I have to say about his acting here. Omowunmi Dada, she plays Chisom. She and her, they play Chisom. She does all right, okay? I can't imagine what more she could have done with this role beyond what was written for her. She's got some good moments, but all in all, there's not really much to say either for or against her in this movie. That's all you get from me here. Uzor Arukwe, I've said he's Rogba, and then later when he's unveiled as the mystery masked figure, so he's prominent, he does get a lot of screen time. However, most of his active part is behind that mask, and so there's really not that much to say about him as well. There are a host of others: Tinamba, Ron Batogu, Kalu Ikeagu, Shafi Bello, etc. Just too many to list. I will just say that again, and I say this quite often, none of them are exactly challenged, and I've seen them like very similar performances from these actors. So honestly, there's not much to say. However, a standout performance for me would be Uche Chika Elumelu. That's the person who plays Onajite, mostly because she has the best pidgin, and she's got only like one scene or one and a half scene, but she really does stand out in the little screen time that she has, and that's how you know a really good actor, when they barely got screen time, but the little time that they're on screen is quite memorable. Francis Sule, who's my guy, I love him. He's here also, and he's always a delight, but his role here is minimal. I really want people to give Francis Sule like a chance to show what he can do, because he's so versatile. It's crazy, Anyway, let's get to the meat of the matter, Suspicion. Now, let's talk production design. Production design of this movie is adequate, costume, makeup, except for Stan Nze's aged look. Never mind. So, locations, sets, etc. Just there's so much that's put into this film, and I do appreciate that. I applaud all the effort. The world building is pretty decent. The magical realism world is established early on, and it sets the tone, for what to expect in this movie. And also, it enables, it enables the smooth blending of genres here, from fantasy to murder mystery. There's nothing particularly notable about the dialogue in this movie. In fact, I'm going to say that that dialogue in this movie is utilized in its most basic form, just to pass information. So that's rather disappointing. I like at least a few lines of really great dialogue, some memorable dialogue. We don't have that here. I like the language of this film. There's English, there's Pidgin, and then there's, some local languages. I think mostly Urobo, I'm not really sure. However, the Pidgin English delivery in this movie is atrocious. I'm sorry. I'm still completely confounded why a country that Pidgin is probably our first language, we're so bad at portraying Pidgin in our movies. There needs to be research, especially by the lead, Stan Nze. His Pidgin is bad, but whatever. I will say, and that's why I said that the girl, Elumelu girl, really stood out. I will say, though, that this movie does not take itself seriously. I think I'd already said that, at least in the beginning, which is why the very first act of the movie is the most entertaining bits, because that's when it's really not taking itself seriously, so it's fun. But when it does start to take itself seriously, it becomes a bit less enjoyable, and then all the problems with story and story execution become more pronounced. And so let's list some of those problems. The pacing is not the best. There are quite a few inconsistencies and underdevelopment with character. The plot, the magic is quite inconsistent as well. So this makes the movie all of these things make the movie a little bit hard to follow. But here's the thing, you don't have to follow. As I said, it's a good time, okay? Honestly, I mean it, this movie is a fun ride. And you don't necessarily have to understand the workings of every little thing to really enjoy the movie. And at least that was my experience with watching this movie. The action and the fight sequences are actually pretty good. And my qualifier here is for Nollywood, okay? As you know, also the special effects, I was actually quite impressed. However, all of this is somewhat undermined by not very great editing and a really annoying score. Okay, the score is annoying and questionable CGI. I'm not going to talk too much about the CGI. Now, while I've said that I did enjoy the unpredictability of the scenes, because like I said, you never know what's going to happen next, I would actually have liked a bit more predictability, or at least some coherence to the plot, okay? The time jump, for instance, it does the plot no favors, right? It's kind of disconcerting, like we know where we leave the story off, and then next thing we are 4 years later, and whatever the lead is doing there is not really connecting to what happened in before that 4-year jump, you know. So that's what I mean. It was like such an abrupt break from him suffering those losses of his goddaughter and friend, and what you think is going to be his trajectory, it's really not. He's out here being a ghostbuster or whatever, you know, like I said, crime fighter, Batman, whatever. So it just did not feel authentic or organic. Now, there's no clear conflict that sustains throughout this movie, and I really had a problem with that. So it's not quite clear also to connect with what the protagonist's journey is in this movie. I'm also unable to connect with the characters, right? Because I feel like I don't know them. So I'm just going to put this down to inadequate character development, right? And this, again, is not really helped by the lackluster acting for the most part. There's a lot that happens to Voke that I expect should elicit feelings of sympathy, but for the most part, I feel nothing for this character, and that's a real tragedy considering everything that happened. There's no chemistry between him and Chisom, his love interest, so that, you know, when he does have to make the terrible choice, you know, towards the end of the movie, what should be tragic really doesn't feel tragic. Even when he loses his goddaughter, there's no real feeling of grief. I don't know why his acting is so one note in this movie, but I think Stanze could have done better. Okay, he did just okay, like I said. There are also, you know, quite a few unanswered questions. There's a bit too much exposition, aka Shalaye, especially at the end. The end was just info dump. I was like, hey, is that what happened? Oh, okay, my brain. It was a lot. Anyway, all of this, you know, leads me to believe that, and I've heard this suggested as well, that this movie could actually have been better as a series. And I agree, because I really do see the foundation that has been laid here, and I think that it really needed more space, aka episodes, to expand on this foundation and premise. So as it is, they have teased the sequel. I don't know whether the movie that we do have, that we've seen, requires that, or that it's earned a sequel. So I don't know. Probably what we even need is a prequel rather than a sequel, but just a series. They've done it with Anikulapo, you know, so we have the movie. Let's treat this movie as a teaser and then wait for a series. How about that? Right. So guys, in conclusion, I'm going to say that I think that this movie, it has a general, like, good idea. Like I said, the premise is good and it does a lot of things right. You know, it's also quite experimental in certain ways. However, the execution and plots really could have been tighter. I appreciate the effort, and also I don't know if I've said this, the minus mentioning the languages and pidgin and all that, but this movie did its best to try to, like, Nigerianize, you know, it, as much as, you know, it's a superhero-ish type of movie. It still gives Hollywood superhero vibe, sha. But that's okay. That's okay. I did enjoy this movie when I also didn't take it too seriously. And so for that reason, I'm going to recommend this movie. Not just for that reason, actually. Like I said, there was a lot put into this movie. It's just it didn't tie properly. It could have been better. It could have been more expansive. But that's in no way saying that this is a bad movie. I did enjoy myself watching this movie. The director, Tosin Igho, he's one that I like to watch, and I do admire him. But I'm not without bias. I was the script editor on the TV series Dust, which he executive produced. So that's it for Suspicion. And like I said, I do recommend this movie. I think you'll have a good time watching it. Just don't go there like you think you're about to watch The Matrix or whatever. So guys, if you've been here, of course you're here because you're still here hearing me say this. Thank you for being with me to the end of this review. Yes, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to my channel. It really does help me out a great deal. And we have two highly anticipated movies coming this Christmas season. We have Jade Osiboru's movie coming, and I think we're going to be able to review that because it's coming out on Prime. However, Funke Akindele, Queen of Box Office, her movie is going straight to the cinemas, I assume. So we will have to wait for that one until it comes to streaming. Unless I can persuade somebody to get me a screener. You guys should if you know her, carry my Tribe of Judah review and give her, and she's gonna love it, and then she'll give me a screener, okay? All right, guys, what do I tell you? You have the right to an incredible viewing experience, so never settle. Thank you.